So it's just under a month until the Tory party elect their new leader. You've got 4 contestants, 2 on one end, James Cleverly and Tom Tugendhat, a bit more moderate, trying to push the party more to the centre. And then on the other hand, you've got Kemi Badenoch and Bobby Jenrick, who are trying to get the reform vote and trying to be a bit more to the right of the party. So, who's going to win? That remains to be seen. Maybe Jenrick, maybe Badenoch. Time will tell. But I just want to watch a short clip that kind of gives a sense of their pitches and their leadership. So let's get straight into it.
We need to choose someone to lead us who has already done their apprenticeship. As Foreign Secretary, I strengthened our posture on Iran. I dealt with Putin's nuclear threats. I worked with Ben Wallace to get tanks delivered to Ukraine. And in Beijing, I told the Chinese foreign minister to his face, do not invade Taiwan. And never forget, reform didn't deliver Brexit, we did. Reform didn't cut immigration, I did. And
hasn't immigration gone up under the Tories? I mean, yeah.
Mark my words, we will beat reform by being the best version of ourselves, not a pale version of anyone else. So no mergers, no deals.
If I become leader, we will immediately begin a once-in-a-generation undertaking. The sort of project not attempted since the days of Keith Joseph in the 1970s. A comprehensive plan to reprogram the British state, to reboot the British economy. One that goes far beyond...
She's been watching Tony Blair. Well, reboot the economy. It's so vague what they can actually do. And the problem is they've got no policies because they just want to cut taxes for the rich and then just kind of prop up big business. They don't really... And that's why over 14 years they've not been able to do anything because, in a way, things have just been running fine for the wealthy. So what is there to do?
Beyond the relationship with the EU or the ECHR, a plan that considers every aspect of what the state does and why it does it. We will rewire, reboot, and reprogram. Nothing is more exciting to me. I am an engineer.
But what are the policies? How are you going to fund it? What is actually going to change?
And engineers do not hide from the truth.
Under my leadership,
What does that even mean? What does that even mean?
the new Conservative Party will stand for a new Great Reform Act. One that leaves the ECHR, repeals Tony Blair's Human Rights Act, and writes.
They don't want human rights. He wants to push the party even further to the right. And will this win for them? I just don't think it will. I think the reform won't be convinced by this. I mean, if they still exist in 5 years' time. But it's dangerous.
British Bill of Rights. We must take a stand on net zero. We have to oppose his plan. It's going to send energy prices sky high. But we also have to oppose the root of the problem, the serious issue. And that's not the principle of net zero, but the crazy interim binding targets put into law by Gordon Brown.
But we need to act on climate change. It's affecting people's lives. It's a fact. It's affecting people's lives. Flooding is increasing. It's only going to get worse. Each year, we're getting hotter and hotter. Sea temperatures are rising. This is happening. And we have to take it seriously. I mean, there is an opportunity here for green new jobs. Actually leading the economy, leading this kind of green charge. But we're falling way behind. We're decades behind. And this should be a no-brainer.
Stood for Parliament. I was a soldier. I served our country and I faced our enemies. I know what leadership demands. When everything
Too boring. This guy's got no chance. Too boring.
else has been cut away and there's nothing left, character is what remains. If you went to Reform, I want to show you the conservative values that we share. If you went to the Lib Dems, I want you to see the opportunities that only we can deliver. And if you went to Labour, I want to show you why freedom, not state control, is how we build. If you stayed at home, I want to make you proud to vote Conservative again.
Well, who's going to buy into that? No one's going to buy into Tom Tugendhat. He's too boring. It's too vague. And that's the problem. The Tories are done now, and they don't realise they're done forever. People under 65, essentially, 60, you kind of have people voting Reform. But in the next 5 years, people are only going to be voting Labour. And yes, Labour aren't doing so well at the moment. But this idea that the Tories can just bring it back in 5 years, that somehow, especially if they push further right, yes, they may get a few more votes from Reform, but they're just going to split the vote again. You're going to have, again, if Reform still exists in 5 years' time, they're just going to split the vote again, and Labour will win again. And they don't even have to do that well. Yeah, they might not like them, but they'll go, well, the Tories have just gone too far right. We have to vote Labour. So the Tories are done for a long time now. I don't think they'll get in for a long time. Reform, I've got very little chance. They might get a few more MPs. They might get 1 million more votes at best. But we now need to put pressure on Labour to actually do things, actually tax the wealth, tax the rich, and invest in infrastructure. Because that's the only option we have. Or continue in the same vein as the Tories. You have two options. Which one are they going to pick? And I suspect they're going to pick the latter. And that's the most terrifying thing, because then you just cede ground to Reform, and you get failing infrastructure, longer waiting lists, no houses built, and that's the threat we face now. And Labour need to do more. It's very simple. They need to do a lot more. So that's all I have for you today. Comment below, are the Tories done forever? And I'll see you in the next video.